Hello again. This is the video for the course Introduction to Data Science, and I'm going to continue with the lesson about the pivot tables. So last time we already have the basic idea of the pivot tables is a very similar operation that is commonly seen in the spreadsheet and other programs that operate the tabular data. And in the previous video, we learned about the group by. Okay, so I can just go straight away to the section that we already reached before. So last time you learned about the reshaping and pivoting, and it was from the data set tips. You remember the data set tips have at 7 columns, and from those columns we want to select some important information, like we want to select the total bill, tip, size, day, and sex, and then we can do the stack, and then we can do the unstack. Okay, so I will just skip those one because you already have those. And after you are using the stack and unstack, you can also use the group by. You know about the unstack and unstack. Okay, and yeah, now I'm going to explain about the wide to long format and long to wide format, so you have the understanding about how to make the stack and unstack. So in this section, we're going to learn about the pivoting from wide to long and long to wide. What does it mean, long to wide, wide to long? So in the previous video, you learn about the unstack and stack function. If you are doing the stack, okay, so if you are doing the unstack, you will see like a long format. Okay, so it's long format to the below part, so you can see one by one of the data. But if you're seeing wide format, it means you are splitting or you are pivoting the data into the column wise. So like this one, yeah, you can see the column is showing more information because you want to group based on the Saturday and the Sunday. But if you are doing with the long format, then you want to show the data each based on the categorical values, like this one, the total bill with regard to the female, and on Saturday the number is 20.29. So we call this is the long format, and we call this is the wide format. So if you already know the wide and long, long and wide, okay, so we use the stack and unstack. Now I would like to teach you how we can use another function. We call it melt. So in the melt function, let's say I get back to the tips data. Okay, when I use the data 01, I have the data from row 15 until 22, and again I just want to get the 4 columns. Okay, at this case I just want to get the 4 columns: total bill, tip, size, and day. So this is the result. Okay, this is the result from the row 15 until 21, and there are 4 columns that I use for this example. And the group data, this is I want to group by the day. So I just want to get the sum and the sum of the day for the Sunday and the Saturday. Here, just give you this one. Okay. So in this case, I want to group by the day, and then I can see that, yeah, something amazing, when you see this one, Thursday and Friday shows some information. It is 0 because The data that I use here is only the slice data. I just use the row 15 until 21, which has the value Sunday and Saturday. But there is no Thursday and Friday. If I want to do the summation for all the data 01, okay, so what is the data 01? Here, the data 01 is from the tips. Because it is a partial of the tips data set, then it shows all the information from the tips, including the Thursday and Friday. But because we don't have the values, then it remains 0. For Saturday and Sunday, there is a value over there. It shows the value, the summation value from this total bill tape size. And let's see. You see here the index. Okay, what is the index here? The index here is the day. Okay, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I would like to reset the index. What does it mean by resetting the index? So I don't want to use the day as the index, but I want to use the 0, 1, 2, 3 as the index. So you will get the new data frame with 0, 1, 2, 3 as the index. Today, it will be a column. Okay, so you can see the difference. Here, day is the index because I want to group by the day. But after I reset the index, I just want to use the 0, 1, 2, 3 as the index instead of the day. So using this information, then I can do one more time according to the long white and white long. Okay. Yeah, I just want to use this partial data to show you that if I want to refer to column day, so the other columns are pivoted automatically into columns named variable and value. So if I melt it like this one, then it will go to the column day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the variables and value are generated automatically because I know that this day have another column, total bill, tip, and size. We want to go to total bill, tip, and size. Okay, what about the value? So the value will be all the numbers in each of the cell. Each of the cells. So this is the value that you will present here. Okay, so we call this is the long format. Okay, so this is the long format. And if I want to call the columns the variable and value, the data can be again transformed to white format. How can I transform to white format? I can use the pivot again. So when you are dealing with the long format, you want to use melt and call the PD, PD means the pandas, and the G1 is the data that you already reset the index. And you just call the column day as the pivoted column for making it into the long format. If you want to make it the white format from the long format, then you can just melt it. Melted is the data, melted is the variable name here. So the melted.pivot, it means I want to pivot with regard to the day, the variable, and the value. The day, variable, and the value. And I want to put it into the variable reshape. And you will get the reshape is something like this one. You will see it returns back to the original the original pandas or the data frame. The index becomes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay? And if you want to reset the index again, then you will see that the index will become 0, 1, 2, 3, and written back like the original one. Of course, the column name is not in order. Yeah, you can change the order if you want. So in the case that we want to pivot only particular values, okay, so I have three columns. Okay, what I do have in the three columns, in the first one I have the total bill, and then I have the tip, and then I have the size. Okay, but I just want to use two columns, total bill and tip. I don't want to use the size. Then you can just call the melt function, and then the data, this is G1, and define the ID underbar vars. It means I want to define the variables. This one is the pivoting column, which is the day, and then the value of the variables would be only the total bill and tip. If you get this one, then you will see only the total bill and the tip. In the case we want to pivot only particular values of total bill, tip, and size, so you will disregard day. Okay, so you can see in this case you will see the column day, but if you want to show only the value of the variables, then yeah, you can see only the variable and the values without the day. And if you want to include the day into the values, so you can also use the value vars day and total bill and the tip, and the day value will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, instead of the real value, which is the numerical for the total bill and the tip and the size. Okay. If you want to change the column name, let's say I have the melted. Do you still remember what is the melted one? Okay, let me just give you one more. Melted. Okay, the melted is the day variable value, so it is the long format, and I want to change the column name. Yeah, the day variable value is not the column name that you want, so you can just call the data frame, which is melted dot columns. So when you call this one, then you want to change the column name, and it becomes key attribute values, for example. So you can just define in the square bracket like this one. So the square bracket will have two. So the second one indicate the column name. So after you indicate the column name like this, then you will get the new column, which is key attribute and values. You can set the column name while you try to melt. It means after you are calling the melt function, you can define the ID vars, which is day, and mention the variable name, which is attribute, and the value name, which is values. So you can define here and you can define here. So the column name now becomes attribute and values, not variable and value. So before you can see that this one, variable and value. If you want to reverse back, okay, if you want to reverse back to the original data, then you can melt, you can pivot again, and then you can call the index, and then just get the attribute. What are the attributes? In this case, the attribute is this one, the total bill, the tip, and the size. So you want to use the day as the index, and then the columns are the attribute. Okay? The column are the attributes, total bill, tip, and size. So using this pivot function, you will get back the things. Now you have the size, tip, and total bill, and the day is the index. If you want to return back to the original and you want to put the index as 0, 1, 2, 3, so you can just reset the index. Okay, and now you want to reverse the column. Okay, So if you don't say anything, okay, so the values will be represented here, and each of the cell will be represented of the values after you have this one. So in order to only show the original table, you need to do the pivot with the index day and the column attributes, and just omit the column values. I just want to get the value itself. And then after that, I want to reset the index. So after I do this one, then yeah, I can get this. If you want to go back to the original name, so in this case, like the attribute, okay, you have the attribute, so you do not want to use this attribute, then just use the original columns dot name, and yeah, it becomes none. None means this attribute name will be deleted, so the attribute now disappear. For additional aggregate, now we can have something related with the cutting values. Okay, when you are aggregating, you may want to cut based on the continuous data. So in the previous one, it was based on the categorical data, day. Okay, but now I have the categorical data, continuous data, or numerical data. How can I use the numerical data to cut the values? So if you return back to the tips data set, yeah, the total bill is somehow it is in the, okay, yeah, the minimum is 3, and the median is 17, and the maximum is 50. Okay, and let's suppose I want to cut the numerical values. I know that 50 is the maximum. Then let's say I want to make the category from 0 until 29 and 30 until 59. So you can make the cut. Okay, so PD is the pandas dot cut. So you want to cut the numerical values. So here you need to specify the numerical column, numerical data column. I want to use the total bill column from the tips dataset. And how can I cut the values? So I want to cut 0 until 29 and then 30 until 60. So this is the highest limit. Okay, and then from 30 until 60 is the higher limit, which is 59. If you run this, then you will get the value like 0, 0.30. And yeah, the last one will be, yeah, there are two categories. Okay, the categories which is belong to 0 until 30, and the categories which is 30 until 60. Okay, so here you don't, I think you cannot see all the values. Okay, so maybe if I just use 20, yeah, you can see, right, the data in number 11, it shows 30 until 60. The other is 30, 0, 30. Okay. Or there is another way you can use QCut. QCut means quantile cut. Okay. So the quantile cut, it means you want to cut based on the median or the number of quantile. So if you mention the number of quantile is like 2, then it means you want to split based on the median. Here I use pd.qcut, and I'm using the tips dataset. And the tips dataset that I use is just the tip column. And then I want to split into 2 from the quantile. So if I split into 2, it means I will be based on the median. And if I use this median, Okay, the median is somehow is in the 2.9. Okay, let's check. The median of the tip, yeah, this one. It is in the 2.9. Oh, sorry, here. Okay, the median is 2.9 something, 2.90000. Then yeah, the result will be from the minimum until 2.9, and the next will be from 2.9 until 10, because yeah, 10 is the maximum and the minimum is 1. So in order to get the 1, we need to start from 0.999. Okay, so that's all this thing for the tip data set. So I would like to show you with another kind of data set. We have the Titanic data set. So it is also one of the common data set that people use to do the data science. You can use this data set in the seaborne. Okay, there is a data set. We can just load data set, and the name of the data set is Titanic. If you want to see the first 5 data, yeah, this one. So it contains like survive, P class, sex, age, and etc. Let's see one by one. Survive. So you know the Titanic. Okay? So the Titanic is the big voyage, okay, big vessel, and there was a big accident from the ship, and they want to classify who are the people. Uh, they want to know the people who survive and not survive. So if it is 0, it is not survive. If it is 1, then he or she survive. The P class represent the passenger class. You know, the passenger class, it can represent the deck. Okay? So it's first class or second class or third class. If it is first class, so the price might be higher than the second and the third one. Sex, it is the gender of the passenger. Age is the passenger age. SIP SP, the number of siblings or spouses. So if the passenger went into the ship with the kids, then there might be numbers for this one. PR, so the number of parents or children abroad. So they also have the information about the family information. Okay? And the fare means the price of the ticket. Okay? And embark, where the passenger embark, where is the passenger entering the ship. So there are 3: Sherbrooke, Queenstown, and Southampton. The class, yeah, the class is the same with the P class. Okay? So it shows the first or second, third, and who it represents also the same, like the female and woman, female, it represented in the other format like man and woman. If the adult male, it is true. If it's male, and if it is female, then false. The deck information is only to show the, yeah, if it is, there is a, I guess it is a deck information. C, okay, it is marked from C. Okay. I think, yeah, we can skip this one. But embark town, okay, if we are embarking from, if the person is embarked from S, then it mentions Southampton, Sherbrooke, okay, and so on. Life is from the survive. If it is 0 is no, and 1 is yes. So some columns, they just want to put more information for the better explanation. Alone, so you can see from the SIBSP and PARSC. If the SIBSP is 0 and if the PARSC is 0, then it is true. Otherwise, false. So it means if the person is alone or not. If the person is, yeah, true, so if it is true, then he is alone, because no sibling no parent. Okay, here no sibling, no parent, so true. But this one false because she or he she has sibling, so she has a sister or brother. Okay, so with this information, yeah, let's see how can we handle the group by. Okay, I want at first I want to group by based on the gender, and yeah, I want to look at the survival rate. So I want to know the survival rate by gender. The survival rate is the 0 and 1. So 0 is not survive and 1 is survive. So the survival rate means I want to know how many 1. And I want to check based on the sex. So I want to check the male and female. Let's just see the mean. Yeah, it means if the 1, okay, you will add 1 1 1, and there are how many data here. Okay, if you want to describe this, yeah, if you want to describe this one, tiny describe. So there are 891 columns. Sorry, rows. Okay, so using these rows, then you can see the survive, sex. Yeah, we want to group by based on the column sex, and then I want to calculate the survive and just find the mean from the aggregation. So you can see that, okay, male seems a lot of survive, okay. Oh, yeah, it gives us insight that overall 3 of every 4 females, yeah, female survive 75%. Male survive 18%. Oh, okay. Maybe they give priority to the female, and the male, they sacrifice themselves. So this one is a useful data for you to look at a deeper information about the survival. So I do not want to just get the sex information, but I want to know from which class. So whether the passengers is in the first class or second class or the third class. So you can also do that one. Okay, let's say I want to group by based on the sex and the class, and I want to know the survival rate, and let's see the mean. Okay, after I aggregate with the mean, I want to unstack. Okay. Now I can get the information that the female who survive are mostly from the first and the second class. From the third class is only 50%. So you can see if you are traveling with a big ship, I think it's better for you to buy the first or second class because the high survival rate are in the first and the second class. For the male, oh, okay. If you are in the first class, you have a high probability of survival. Okay, yeah, that's what we can see from this analytical processing. And if you want to do the pivot table, okay, so if you want, if the first example, we use the group by, and if you want to use the pivot table, you can also do the same. With the pivot table, you can just mention the column name that you want to pivot, and mention the index, which is the sex, and then just mention the column that you want to specify, which is the class. Okay, so with this pivot table, then I can get this information the same way with the one that I used to group by. Okay, so the information is the same with the pivot table, and we can also do with the multi-level pivot. So in the multi-level pivot means you want to select some of the attributes, like the here I'm not using only the categorical values, but I want to use also the continuous data. So the continuous data here, I am using the age, and yeah, I want to classify the age according to here 0 until 18, which is I can say is below 18, and then the next one is from 18 until at 80. So I want to know the kids and adults. And after I have the age, I want to do the pivot table. So the pivot table will be based on the survive. So it means from the number of the survival. And then let's do the index. Yeah, there are two index, which is sex and age. And then the column name is the class. Okay, so I can say that one. So the index is the sex and age, and the column name is class. So if you don't specify the index and column, because we have 1, 2, 3. So after the comma, it is the index, and after the next comma is the columns. Here, yeah, it's the same. After the first comma is the index, and after the next comma is the column. So using this one, you can get the information about the female and male. And now the female, oh, this is nice information, right? In the second class, all the kids from 0 until 18, they survive 100%. Okay, and for the adult female, 97% are in the first class. The 90%, the kids in the first class, they survive. So some of them, they cannot survive. Okay. And if I want to know according to the fare, okay, so let's say I know the age of the passengers, and I want to know also based on the fare. So I want to put the fare as the columns. And let's say I'm just using the Q cut. Q cut is the quantile cut, and I want to cut into two. Two means I want to cut based on the median value. So I want to cut the fare of the ticket from the Titanic dataset, and I just want to Q cut 2, and then I'm going to pivot the survive. The index are 2, sex and the age. A column that I want to use is fare and class. So if you run this, then you will see the column now. It is the splitting from the continuous data, which is the fare, into 2. Okay, why it's 0 minus 0 0.001? Because it starts from 0. So if you don't have the 0 number, that is fine. But if you have 0 number, then you need to start from the previous one, which is minus 0 0.001. And it goes until this number 14.454. It means the value before this, and from this number until this number. You can see that the fare is something is different. Okay, and oh, it is interesting for the female. Okay, from the first class, there was no value for this fare. It means all the passengers on the first and the second, they pay a lot of money. Okay, they pay a lot of money. Here 100%. So maybe yeah, in the second class there are some people, okay, who pay less money, but most of the people who pay big amount of money, they have high chances to survive. Oh, but this is interesting. The female on the third class is high also. in comparison to the female in the third class with the high price. Oh, yeah. Using this kind of information, yeah, you can explain, okay? You can address some insight about this data. So you already have the idea about the hierarchical indexing, and yeah, we can also do with the hierarchical indexing to demonstrate with this small data. And yeah, you can have the like um, something related to the handling missing data, because here there are some missing data. Okay, so in order to do with the missing data, you can do with yourself, like the fill value or drop NA. Fill value means you want to fill with, yeah, something. Yeah, if it is the pivot table, if you want to fill with the static value, then you can fill with the static value, or you want to fill with mean or median, yeah, you can put here, but the default is none. Okay. And you can see here the things that you already learned is the data and values and the index and the columns. Okay, so you already learned those three in the previous example. Now for the values and the drop and I don't want to discuss it. So it is basically the same with how to handle missing value. So if you want to fill the value with something, you can just explain this fill value with min, for example. And drop and if it is true, then you will not include in the calculation. In this example, I want to show you the aggregate function, aggregate. It means aggregate function. So the aggregate function that you can use are sum, min, count, min, max, okay? And yeah, those are from the NP, from the NumPy. Let's see if I have the pivot table. Yeah, in the previous example, you just define the index and the column, okay, and the data set. But now you can also specify what are the aggregation function that you want. Let's say in this example, I want to use this aggregate function, and those are the data, the column survive that I want to use. Just do the sum. And for the fair column, I want to use min. So if you run this, then the result will be different for each of the column. For the fair, okay, we want to calculate the mean. So this is the mean, and this is the index, which is sex, and the column is the class. Okay, so the column is the class, but I want to do aggregation based on the fair and the survive. So the survive, you can see the sum. Sum means the number. So if it is 1, then he is or she survive. When you do the sum, then there are 91. Okay, 91 survival in this first class, 70 and 72 survival. Okay, and for male, yeah, there are a high probability to have the survival rate in the first class. And if you want to use the information of the summation, okay, you can do with margins. It means if I do the survive pivot with regard to the index X and the column class, so the margins, okay, the margin means I want to calculate the overall, okay, what is the overall value? The overall value, it can be the mean of this information, and the mean of this information. Okay, if you check, yeah, those the all is the mean of this information, and from this information I want to get the mean. Okay, the margin is true. It means I want to see the overall survival rate according to the row, and for the column as well, you can get this information. Okay, 0.96 plus 0.36 divided by 2. So the result is something like this. Last, I want to give you one example. Okay, this example is from the GitHub, and we want to know about the birth rate of the. This is the birth information from the United States. So if you want to collect this data, you can just go to the this GitHub. Okay, you can check later. And I give you one file in the e-class, and you can just use that file. You can put the file in the folder data. So you already have this folder data, and then you just put the birds.csv in this folder data. And after that, you can just read these birds. And after you do this one, you may check the first 5 data. The first 5 data, yeah, you can see there are 5 columns: year, month, day, gender, and birds. Okay. So if you want to clearly see the data, you can just go birds.describe. Okay, you know that this describe will give you the information about the numerical value: year, month, day, gender, because it is categorical like the F and M, so it does not show here. Birds is the number of birds. So in 1969, in the January 1st, there was 4,046 female baby. Okay. In 1996, in the January 1st, there were 4,440 male babies. So yeah, maybe you feel strange with this. Well, why this 1.0? Okay, yeah, because the computer may have some formatting issues. They refer to, actually this should be integer, but it becomes a float. So to understand the idea from this describe, yeah, I want to continue with this column. Okay, in this column we have the birds decade equals to 10 multiplied by birds year divided by 10. What does it mean? Yeah, okay, this is a way to define the decade. You know, the decade is the number of year. If you can see this one, 1969, 1970, 1971. Okay, so if you want to like give 25 data, okay, but I guess this one, okay, all the data are the same, 1966, 1969, and so on. But if I want to make it as a decade, yeah, because if it is too long, okay, you cannot see all the data. Okay, there are 15,000 data. So I want to make it as 10. It means from 1960, 1970, 1980, and so on. It means the year, okay, the year can be divided by 10. You know, this is the integer division. Okay? So if it is 1969, okay, divided by 10, what is the result? It's 19.6. Okay, so the 9 will not be appear, and then you will multiply with 10. Okay, so if you multiply 196 with 10, then it will be 1960. Okay, and you want to do the pivot table. What is the pivot table? The pivot table is based on the birds, and then the index, it will be the decade. The decade is the new column that you created. Okay, and then the columns will be the gender. So the gender have two values, female and male. And I want to use this aggregate function, which is sum. So the value will be this one. This is the summation of female baby in 1960. This is the summation of the male babies in 1960s. Okay, so please understand this one. Okay, I guess I will stop here in this video, and I will continue with other video about the remaining section because I need to explain more about those stuff. Anyway, thank you for listening and see you on other video.